Hi everybody, Jeremy with Hyatt Training. Week 3 of our top 10 tips for doing life better. And today we're going to talk about one of our favorite topics here at the studio, strength training. So we're going to walk you through kind of some of the hows and whys of strength training and the things you should make sure that you're getting in every week as you go through your programming. If you haven't checked out the prior 2 weeks on mindset and cardiovascular exercise, go back and do those now. We're glad you're here with us. Thanks. Let's talk a little bit about the why of strength training. One of the big reasons, especially as I approach 50, this becomes even more appropriate. We all lose muscle mass just naturally as we get older. So one of the best ways, in fact the only way, to prevent some of that age-related muscle loss is through strength and conditioning work. Strength training can also help you perform daily activities with greater ease and with less pain. It improves posture, better energy, it can help with weight management. I mean, there's a ton of reasons. One of the big things with strength training is that we have to do it hard enough to stimulate change. So the intensity has to be high enough to cause stress to the system in order to stimulate change. And I think that's where a lot of people get in trouble. They kind of go through the motions, where they pick really repetitive activities that they do week in and week out, but it's not enough to stimulate change. They hit a plateau, they don't see progress, and then they stop. So one of the things that we try to do is make sure that those things are dialed in, that you are pushing yourself hard enough, that you're adding a variety of exercises, and that you're making those changes week in and week out. For most individuals, for most goals, especially the goals that we see around here, think about strength training 2 to 3 times a week, bouts that are going to last from about 20 to 40 minutes. And strength training is a great way to also integrate some of that high intensity interval training that we talked about from last week. So a nice training session might be 30 minutes, 40 minutes of strength training with then another 10 or 15 minutes of some high intensity intervals. And you can knock out kind of a couple of your goals in one training session. So we're going to talk a little bit about what goes into a good strength training program. And I think the days, for most of us, the days of the classic training splits, the back and bi days, is kind of over. Most of us don't have that kind of time to put into it. So we're going to be looking at, again, if we're talking about 2 to 3 sessions a week, we're going to be talking about doing full body workouts most of the time. We're going to be talking about doing compound movements most of the time. So you're using multiple muscle groups at once, and you're doing work for the whole body in one session. We tend to focus things around a couple of movement centers. So shoulders, we're going to do our pushing and pulling activities. Our spine, we're going to do our planking and carries. And then our legs, we're going to do deadlifts or hinges. We're going to do squats, we're going to do lunges. And so while there's an infinite amount of variety within those exercises, if you're kind of hitting those movement centers and those foundational movement patterns, you're going to have a pretty good balanced program. You have movement that goes forward and backwards, you have movement that goes side to side, and then you have movement that rotates. And so those planes of motion are the kind of the last thing that go into building that good program. So what we try to do is make sure that there's as much of that variety in your program in one session as possible to maximize your time. Okay, thanks for joining us for week 3 of Doing Life Better. Our bread and butter around here is strength and conditioning work, and so we really enjoy talking about that and hope you have a little better understanding of how to set up your programming and how our trainers can help you do that here as well. Next week, we're going to start into stress management, which is a really interesting conversation. We look forward to you joining us then. Thanks.